December 30th, 2020. Can we please have a roll call? Looks like we have 10 present, 1 presiding, and 1 absent. Please let the record reflect that Commissioner Mankins is excused from tonight's meeting. Commissioner McDonough, would you please lead us in the prayer?
Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which shall greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
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 The next section of tonight's meeting is any public comment on any items on the agenda. Right now, we don't have anybody on the phones, but I do have about 3 letters to read into the record tonight. The first one is from Dr. John W. Ray. I wholeheartedly endorse the proposal that Butte extended the mask wearing requirement and other protective measures in place in Butte into a new year. I would like to focus on masks, the wearing of which is paramount to protect public health. We cannot rely on personal responsibility, however attractive that may sound, because not everyone is personally responsible. In society, under government, we enact rules and regulations to protect the public health and safety. We generally call these laws which command that we either do something or refrain from doing something with penalty if we fail to comply. We do not rely on personal responsibility instead of law. Why? Because some people don't care about others. Some people don't know what to do without guidance. Rules hold society together. In the case of this pandemic, the actions of only a few can harm the many, and the government is supposed to promote the general welfare and the common good. Simply because someone can do something does not mean that they ought to do something. I may be able to speed in a school zone, but that does not mean that I ought to do so. I may be able to rob a store, but that does not mean I should do it. There are so many examples of the above where individual freedom do something is constrained by laws, rules, and regulations. We enter society for the benefits it provides us, protection under justice. Doing so, we give up some freedoms in order to achieve these benefits. The fact of living in society limits individual freedom. There is no clearer example of this general concept than it relates to the current pandemic. But let me return to masks. It is incontrovertible that the coronavirus is prevalent, persistent, and precocious, and the more infectious than originally thought. Coronavirus can be spread by those who are asymptomatic. Masks are protective because a small minority not wearing masks can infect the many. The public wearing of masks must be as close to universal as possible. Discussion. A reliance on voluntary wearing of masks would not be protective of the public. As I said, it only takes a few to infect the many. We cannot rely on what people ought to do. Decisions must be based on what people actually do or not do. B, argument against wearing masks has become politicized and is not based on data or facts. To the contrary, the data and the facts show that the masks are necessary public health protective. The political argument is made that I am free to do what I want to do, but such statement is contrary to the facts of society. Government constantly limits individual behavior in order to protect the public. Just look at the public health ordinances. The American political philosopher John Dewey describes a public problem as occurring when individual actions have public consequences. Infecting others is a public consequence. Dewey said that the public, through public government, has a right to regulate these harmful public actions. Acts that affect others are the public's business. No freedom is absolute. Freedom can be curtailed when others are affected, particularly when they do not choose to be affected. C, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We have a serious infection problem. Can you imagine what it would be if wearing of masks was voluntary? Wearing a mask is not that onerous. Sure, it is uncomfortable, but getting the coronavirus can be more than uncomfortable. A universal ordinance would take a burden off the individual business owner or the organization. For example, a business may not worry if they enforce a voluntary mask requirement, customers might leave. E, a universal mask requirement would make the public, particularly those pre-existing conditions, feel safer to go out. This would be a good public health. This would be good for business. If people stop wearing masks, even more people will shop with Amazon. I would personally feel very insecure to go in public if mask wearing was voluntary. F, such a universal mask requirement would be good for the economy. We do not want to have to close down again. If we don't deal with the problem now, closing down could well happen. We can stay open if people have to wear a mask. This is a small price to pay for keeping the economy in Butte going. Because of expectations of reciprocity, a mandated and universal requirement to wear masks is more likely to be followed, thus making enforcement easier. People tend to comply with a universal government requirement, law, or regulation. The cost of wearing a mask, which is primarily some inconvenience, is far less than the benefits of mandating masks that would protect public health and the economy. While people should voluntarily wear masks, too large a number refuse to do so. We need to be protected from the harmful actions of others, as other ordinances and regulations do. It is obviously that voluntary compliance is not working, given the disease precociousness. We cannot hold the public health hostage to the harmful actions of a few. Therefore, there needs to be a mandatory mask requirement. St. Thomas Aquinas defines a law as an ordinance of reason for the common good made by him who has care of the community and promulgated. The definition certainly encapsulates why we need a mandatory mask requirement and need to continue into the new year the protective measures that are in place. Again, that was from John Ray. The next one is from Terry Belkey, to whom it may concern. I support that the mask mandate remain in place for Butte-Silver County. I am at the high school every day for approximately 5 hours, and I believe it is an integral factor for keeping school in session, businesses open, and for the public's general well-being at large. To reduce the current health mandates and CDC guidelines for the prevention of spread, it would be a step back for us. I am for keeping the current guidelines in place. From Terry Hartline Belkey. The next one is also from Dr. John W. Ray. As a concerned citizen, I want to thank you for doing your difficult duty as a member of the Board of Health for Butte-Silver Bow and the Health Department. One definition of citizen is one who puts aside his or her private concerns and attitudes to public duties and to promoting the general welfare. As citizen members of the Board of Health, you have admirably and wisely performed the citizen duty. Your action will help to protect us. Your action will promote the general welfare and the common good. Your action will make economic recovery more likely. Your actions will help to prevent more suffering and death in our community. The health department has been outstanding in this crisis. You have been proactive, science-based, empathetic towards the suffering and the needs of community, and decisive. When I compare our health department to others in the state, we're truly blessed in Butte. I know how hard this decision is. I know that the pressure and the counter pressure you were under, you displayed not only civic virtue, but civic courage. You look at the broader community perspective when too many were only interested in themselves. This was hard. This was very, very hard, but you can take comfort in being faithful towards our stewards of the public duty and trust. So again, as a grateful citizen, thank you. I did not have the emails for all, so perhaps you could share with the whole Board of Health. And that was from John W. Ray. That concludes the public comments that I have to read tonight. Is there anybody on the phone? Okay, it doesn't appear to have anybody on the phone, so I'm going to move on to the report of the chair. I guess this will be my last report as the chairman of the council for this time. I do want to let everybody know that it's been a utmost pleasure being able to be your guys' chair the last 4 years and being a commissioner for 12. And I want to wish everybody on this committee and the future ones good prosperity and good luck with the next year in 2021. Hopefully it's much better than what we've had this past year. With that being said, Commissioner Olson, Commissioner McDonough, you also will be leaving with me tonight. And I just want to let you both know that Butte is a better place than when you guys joined the council. So good work on doing what you did for your constituents. And it's also been a pleasure to be with you on the council. And it's also been a pleasure walking out of this meeting with you tonight too. So good luck to everybody. And I just want to wish you Godspeed as you guys move on. You are going to be led by the next chair, who will do an awesome job. Chairwoman Shaw will take over the reins just like nothing ever happened, and she'll have you guys whipped into shape in no time. So, and Commissioner Frederickson, you got another big shoe to fill, but I know you can do it. I've known you a long time, and your perseverance and ethics and everything will come into play, and you'll do an outstanding job as vice chair. So I just want to say congratulations to everybody, and I want to wish you the best. So, can't get in trouble tonight. Commissioner McDonough and Olson, I'll let you guys say something if you want.
Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. I was never really a fan of Robert's rules anyway. I know this isn't the proper time or place, but I want to extend my thanks to you and Commissioner Olson, but thanks for your leadership on the council and your dedication. And I know that several times we disagreed, it was always civil, and we always got a good laugh after. But thanks for all your service to the council and the citizens of Butte-Silver Bow. 12 years is a long time, and I think you did a fantastic job. And I'd also like to extend my thanks and congratulations to Chief Executive Palmer for his years of service to the community too. I think that it's always a challenge at times to work hard and to do the right thing. But thanks for all of you guys and your service too. So thanks again and congratulations.
All right. With that, I'll move on to the next section, which is, Commissioner Olson, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. It's been a pleasure serving with all of you, and especially, under your guidance, we've done a lot of good stuff over the past 4 years that I've been a member here. Also, I'm sad to see me go, and for the others to go also. It might be time for some fresh blood here, but I really appreciate all the work that everybody does, and especially those that are getting to retire. Since Commissioner Frederickson has taken over Cindy's position, does that mean he has to wear high heels, since there's those the kind of shoes he wears?
Moving on, Commissioner Olson. Moving on to section 1, bid openings, public hearings, and/or presentations. First one is a public hearing. Number 1, communication number 2020-492. Mike Clegg, Deputy County Attorney, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to hold a public hearing for December 30th, 2020 to amend the fiscal year 2020-21 budget to receive funds from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistant, BJA, for the purpose of starting the Butte Veterans Treatment Court. Mr. Clegg, do you have a staff report before I open? Oh, hold on. County Attorney Joyce, do we have proof of publication?
Mr. Chairman, there is proof of publication, both for this public hearing and for the bid opening. That's in section 2, and they both appear to be in order.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clegg, do you have a staff report?
Briefly, Chairman Morgan, first of all, thanks for allowing me to address the council tonight. We're asking for this public comment on our request to amend the budget for the 2020-21 fiscal year. The Butte-Silver Bowl received a grant from the Department of Justice, as you stated, to start the Veterans Treatment Court. That grant total is for $498,450. There is no corresponding match from the county cash match. There is a in-kind match for services from the employees working the court. With that, any questions I could address?
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Shaw. Oh, you're on mute, Cindy.
There I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, so this almost $500,000 grant, is there a time limit that's going to, can you give us an idea of how long that'll last, or do you have to reapply a certain time period?
It is a 3-year grant,
Okay,
Commissioner Shaw. There is the opportunity at the end of the 3 years to apply for an enhancement grant to continue with the program.
okay, thanks.
Okay, is there any other questions? All right, seeing none, the phone lines are open. So if there's any member of the public that would like to participate in this public hearing, please call 497-5009. Phone lines are open. At this time, I'll ask for any proponents. No calls on the phone. I'll go second call for proponents. There are no calls on the line. I'll do third and final call for proponents. No calls on the line. I'll move to opponents for communication 2020-492. First call for opponents. Doesn't appear to be anybody on the line. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents for communication 2020-492. All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing for communication 2020-492. Moving on to bid openings, communication 2020-518. Jim Keenan, Chief Water Operator, requesting Council of Commissioners approval to schedule a bid opening for December 30th, 2020 for supplying chemicals to be used by the BSB water and wastewater treatment plants and Ridgewater's Water Park. We already asked for the bid opening. So who, go ahead. Let's have our staff report.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. We have 5 bids tonight to open. That's kind of unique because we have 10 chemicals that we're asking for bids on, and each bid might not have all the chemicals. One company might do 4 and they might not have the other chemicals. So it's kind of I think they give us a grand total, and then we'll go through them in Public Works and we'll come up with some bid tabs.
Thank you, Mr. Neary.
Our first bid is from Shannon Chemical Corporation in Malvern, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, there is it's security in the amount of 10% of the bid in the form of a cashier's check that appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Neary.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. The total price on the bid is $124,229.69. $124,229.69.
Okay, thank you.
Our second bid is from EOSI in podcast.
That's the drive.
No, podcast, Massachusetts.
County Attorney Joyce.
Give us a sec. Oh.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, there is bid security in the form of a cashier's check for 10% of the bid, and it does appear to be in order.
Thank you, Mr. Neary.
Chairman Morgan, the total price on this is $39,480. $39,480.
Okay. Mr. Neary, I was just asked by Laura up here if you can bring the cashier's checks to her in the council chambers after the meeting so that they can properly log them.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
The next bid is from Kimmer Water Solutions in Lawrence, Kansas. I think there is there.
Just cover letter, I think.
Having a tough time finding the bond.
No worries.
Mr. Chairman, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Neary?
Chairman Morgan, the total on this is $225,628 even. $225,628.
Okay.
The next bid is from Hawkins in Roseville, Minnesota.
Mr. Chairman, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Neary?
Chairman Morgan, the total on this bid is $463,604.05. $463,604.05.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Neary. Does that conclude all of the bids that you have?
One more.
I have one more.
One more? Okay.
You in a hurry to get out of here?
Yes, Commissioner Shaw holds the record.
The next bid is from DPC Industries in Hudson, Colorado. Doesn't appear to have a, it doesn't appear to have a bid bond.
County Attorney Joyce. Is there any?
It's required, right?
Yep.
So, Mr. Chairman, they don't meet the requirements of the bid.
Okay. So we won't be reading their bids, so we just have the 4 bids to choose from. Is that right, Mr. Neary?
Yes.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Thank you, Mr. Neary. I guess it's not a question. I would just hope that after you and your team review these bids, that we get a little better handle on 4 companies bidding 10 chemicals and the bids ranging from 39,000 to 450,000. I think after you review them, it'd be nice if we could see, that who bid what and where they're coming in. Not that it matters much, but that's quite a variance for some of us that know nothing about water chemicals. So I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Olson.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. I assume that what you can do is pick and choose from these. If somebody submitted 9 chemicals and 3 of them are the cheapest ones, you could take the bid from that person. It doesn't have to be the whole bid. Is that correct? Thank you.
Mr.
Right.
Neary.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Commissioner Olson, we will take the best price from each chemical is the way we'll end up doing it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to refer communication 2020-518 with the 4 bids that we've received that have met requirements, and to refer that to the Public Works Department for their response back to this body.
Second.
I have a motion that's been made and seconded to refer these to the Public Works Department. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? 1 second, getting it up. Would everyone please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 11 yay, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to section 2, communications. Communication 2020-411, Brendan McDonough, Commissioner District 8, requesting Council of Commissioners consideration the Butte-Silver boat take over the outside maintenance of the community ice center located at Clark Park. The original operating agreement had the Butte Amateur Hockey Association maintaining the grounds. However, I think BSB should assume the maintenance. Continue to hold this in abeyance pending a meeting from the Parks and Rec Board. But Commissioner McDonough, do you have any final thoughts on it as you see or as you wish?
None other than the fact that I'll stay with it, I guess. And I've talked to incoming Commissioner Reardon about the issue, but it's just an issue of maintenance. Facility around the community ice center, especially during the spring, summer, and fall months when it's not winter, that the outside's maintained and mowed. Heard a lot of comments over 8 years, and we've stayed with it. We were able to get some sidewalks in, which was a huge improvement. But we'll stay with it moving forward. And I see Commissioner Frederickson probably knows more than I do, and he's got his hand up, so I'm just going to give the floor back.
Okay. Commissioner Frederickson, do you have anything to report on?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Morgan. I'm going to use this opportunity to thank you and wish you and the best of luck in your future. You and I go way back, and I really value your advice and all the advice and answering all my questions and everything. So thank you for that. As far as this communication goes, we did meet in the Parks Board. And the Parks Board voted to take a look at this whole entire contract and to evaluate it. We know the whole park knows all the issues with the maintenance. And so at this point, I would make a motion to note and place on file. And then once this contract is worked through on the Parks Board, then, they'll have their recommendations.
I would second.
That was a second from Commissioner Shaw or Commissioner McDonough as well? Okay. So we have a motion to note communication 2020-411 and place it on file. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. With all due respect to the Rec Board and Park Board, I think this decision kind of lays with us no matter where this goes. And if anyone's driven by there lately, you can see Commissioner McDonough had a plan a long time ago that it should be cleaned up. And I'm having a tough time noting and placing this on file. We've had this on our books for quite a while. I don't really remember the date, but I would make a substitute motion that we approve communication 2020-411. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion made and seconded to approve communication 2020-411. Commissioner Fisher, would you just amend that to include place on file?
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. I would like to amend that to place that on file with my approval. Thank you.
Amended second, Commissioner O'Neill. Okay, thumbs up, I'll take it. So there is a motion made and seconded. The only thing that I would say on this is that we do have a contract in place. And the hockey rink is not following the contract as it was specified. So I don't think it's as simple as just concurring it and placing it on file. I think there's more of a formal process that would have to go through. County attorney can jump in on this if she wants, but that's my two thoughts. Commissioner Shaw, you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I have mine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just defer to Eileen first, but I would agree that we have a contract in place. And what this communication is asking is that the county takes on the full maintenance. And I think that they need to toe the line and at least see what can be done about the contract. If they broke the contract, there needs to be something done. Thank you.
County Attorney Joyce.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Chairman, yeah, I think when this communication was first discussed, it was brought to the council's attention that there is a lease agreement. And under the current lease agreement, it is the obligation of Baja to maintain the premises. They only pay $1 they don't pay really anything for the lease, but that was their obligation. And I don't think you can just agree to amend a term out of a lease without amending the lease itself.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Yeah, I mean, I think that, and Mr. Gallagher's chief executive-elect Gallagher is on here too, and so if he wants to jump in here, he can. But I think that it's not what the Parks Board was going to do is review the agreement and look over whether the county should take it over the maintenance or charge Baja for the maintenance. The problem is you have a group of parents who in the winter they're there at the facility, but in the summer they're doing other things. So I think that the point of the Parks Board reviewing the lease agreement was to figure out what recommendations to solve this problem. I mean, it's not as simple as just saying, well, they're not in the lease agreement, they should go mow it. You have parents that are changing yearly. You have a new president. So I think that that's what they were going to review. And then obviously check in with the county attorney. That was my view on what the board was trying to accomplish. And I don't know if JP wants to, or Mr. Gallagher wants to jump in.
Mr. Gallagher, looks like you may have dropped off.
I'm
Mr.
here.
Gallagher.
Yeah. Thanks, Chairman Morgan, Commissioner Frederickson. We did take this up and they had discussion on this in the Parks Board, and Commissioner Frederickson is correct. We'd like to review this. Baja has come back to us and they'd like to have the lease reviewed as well. There's things in addition to this that we think that could be added to it because the boards from the Civic Center have been asked for by Baja, and we'd like to actually kind of put that in the lease as well, that if so that they're still property of Butte-Silver Bow. We're not just gifting them to them, and if Baja ever disbanded, that would come back. So there was things that we thought that we could do to add to this lease to bring it more up to date, review it. It may have no changes to it at all. We don't know that, but I think it needs a close look at what is in there. And that's what the board voted to do. Taking on the maintenance of it right now, I mean, truthfully, that is in the lease as their responsibility to do that. A lot of times, I know it doesn't seem like much, but every time you add a little bit more to it, there's more labor, there's more costs. All those things come back, and they come back on the taxpayers. So I think we need to look at it closely before we make judgments onto that. So that was the motion and was taken up by the board. And so I think the review of the lease agreement is necessitated at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Just to reiterate, it calls for the outside maintenance. And we have a weed department that if I owned a lot or anyone owns a lot in Butte-Silver Bow, the weeds are overgrown like they have been at this place for a multitude of months. The weed board goes and mows them and then charges the landowner. What's the difference here? We're the leasee, the leaseor. one of us are liable to take care of that place. And it's a mess over there if you haven't driven by there. It's the weeds have overgrown and the park is well cared for. And the little area around that ice skating building is a disaster. And I know that I'm out of line by asking this, but I don't know how much time we're going to take between board here and kicking this around before somebody goes over there and cleans that place up, because that's what's got to happen. And I mean, I can withdraw my motion if that seems to be the thing, but we've been kicking this thing around for a long time. This time that place gets cleaned up. Thank you.
Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I agree with Mr. Fisher that it does need to be cleaned up, but I do believe it should be the Baja responsibility. You know, they're the ones that entered into this agreement. You know, they are getting this building for almost nothing. You know, if we start getting taking the maintenance of all that, we might as well maintain all the parks. You know, let's racetrack park. How about the park down at Boulevard? You know, I guess if the volunteers said they're going to do it, I believe they should do it. My concern is how long is it going to take? And I appreciate Commissioner McDonough wanted to take care of the neighbors. Yes, the neighbors are complaining, and I appreciate Commissioner McDonough trying to find a solution. And you know, but I believe it's their responsibility.
Commissioner McDonough.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. I've been working on this for 8 years. Every summer, it's the first 3 or 4 years that I was a commissioner, the entire facility was waist deep. I think it's a little more, as Commissioner Morgan alludes to. I mean, I think that in Commissioner Frederickson, we might have to look into it a little further. The people that agreed to and signed the lease on behalf of Baja have been out of the club for 20 years. And I wouldn't expect, I think it was a poor lease to begin with when it was negotiated and signed. And there's been all sorts of issues down there, but, you know, I guess it's hard to say that we should demand that volunteers who just have kids in the hockey club now are just solely responsible for it. I think that we need to find a happy medium or a solution, but I know that the only time that it was cut this last summer is we sent the driving mower, went down the street and cut the grass, but there was no weeding around the facility. There was no other cutting of the weeds. And then along Florence Avenue, there was nothing done at all ever. And the vegetation and the weeds and the grass were waist deep. So, you know, I'd like to see it cleaned up. You know, I've heard from more than just the people that live around Clark's Park. I've heard from people all over the community that want it cleaned up when they go down there for other events during the summer. And I live across the street, so it's been an issue for me. But I like to see it cleaned up. But I think that there's probably a little more negotiation that needs to take place. Thanks.
Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan and Commissioner McDonough. I'd like to address, you know, I know that you made the statement that there was only done once this summer. I want to go back to this summer with the lack of being able to hire any summer employees to be able to do that. And again, it's taken on more maintenance. And then with the lack of having summer help this summer, it's not as easy as just saying, go down there and do it. And I do agree. I think that this was entered into a long time ago. Most people that were that are here, I know I wasn't around. Most everybody on the board was not around when the lease was entered into. I think the review of it, the specification of who's going to be responsible and how we're going to do this, I think it necessitates as we go forward here. But I do. We did take on and do all of the maintenance on the outside for the 2 years prior to that without, you know, charge to them. But I think that we need to really put in and define what the responsibility is and how that cost is going to be absorbed. And is it going to be Butte-Silver Bows at that time? So I just don't think that passing this right now and just saying Butte-Silver Bow taken on, I don't think that solves the issue, because the lease itself probably needs review.
Commissioner Sorge, did you still have a question or comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a comment, and I realize it's not, part of the communication, but I wonder, I agree that we should probably, that the contract should be reviewed and amended if possible, but I wonder if possibly until that point, we can request, or the chief executive, the new chief executive could request the court from Jerome, or Judge McCarthy's office to use some of the misdemeanor program people to help just go down there and help clean it up. I wonder if that'd be a good use of those people for the time being. Just a thought.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. I think that, so we have the parks reviewing the lease, and I think I agree with Commissioner Fisher, and he makes a lot of really good points of just, extending this on and on and on. And so I think that maybe I'll pull my motion and not place it on file. Would it be better to just hold this until we get a new lease agreement in place? Or I'm asking the question, I guess, on maybe it's not a good idea to note and place this on file.
Commissioner Frederickson, your motion was the first one, followed by Commissioner Fisher's second. You can make a third and final motion to hold it in abeyance if that's what you wish for, but they do need to go in that order. By having you remove your first motion, that won't do anything, because the motion that's currently on the floor is Commissioner Fisher's.
Okay. I guess my question will be again for County Attorney Joyce, in what she recommends the proper way going forward to solve this, I guess.
County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Peterson, I think if you're going to take the time to revise the entire lease, it wouldn't be a bad idea to note this communication and place it on file and put forward a new communication with the revised lease ready to be voted on by the council. As long as, it's on the radar of the Parks and Rec Board, who will continue to work on it. I don't, and you don't think it'll get lost in the shuffle, then I think that you can work on it, the Park and Recs Board, and when you're ready, bring a lease forward for the council to vote on. Because this communication basically would have to have a motion be that the old lease be revised, because you can't just vote, as I indicated, to revise a term of a lease when you have a contract in place. You're going to have to amend that contract to revise any provisions that are currently in it.
Okay.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Follow up. I never thought that this communication was going to go this long. So would essentially Commissioner Fisher's motion do that? Do that in the sense that it would cause the lease to be redone?
County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Frederickson, no. Commissioner Fisher's motion is to approve the communication by Commissioner McDonough, which basically was to say that Butte-Silver Bowl would take over the maintenance. And what I'm saying is I don't think that you can change unilaterally a provision in a lease without going back and amending the entire lease to change that. So.
Okay.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you once again, Chairman Morgan. Is the lease in effect, and when does the lease end? The lease probably been a 3-year lease that was probably ended a year or two ago. My point goes back to John Moodry's department and the community enrichment. Had that been a private property or a property, would have went over and cut the weeds and put it on their tax bill. Means the county owns the building. that's not happening. And this is a complaint of the people of Butte-Silver Bow. We're out doing things to people on their property and charging them, putting on their taxes, but we're not doing it to ourselves. And there's a perfect example of it. And that's my point of being, is that I think that if they're out of compliance and they got a lease and we're the leasee, that they should be either in compliance or we should put it on their taxes or put it on their lease. That's my point. So I'm willing to withdraw or move forward or whatever, but I just don't want this to die because I think it's been in the works a long time and it needs to be addressed immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. I guess I would ask if it's what this body wants is a motion to hold in abeyance. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After all of that, and I agree with Eileen, we can't just null and void a lease if it's going to get changed or amended or even taken, just gotten rid of. You have to go through judiciary to do that. We also make the arrangements and we also make the decisions on all of our leases and contracts. So at this time, just so we don't lose it in a shuffle here, I would make a motion to end all motions to hold communication 2020-11 in abeyance.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to hold communication 2024-11 in abeyance. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Does that mean it stays on the docket? It doesn't, we can keep reading it every week on the report. I just want to make sure that's, so I don't want her to die either. That's
Yes,
correct.
yes, Commissioner O'Neill, that is correct. It'll remain on the committee of the whole agenda. Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded. Is there anything else on the question? Would everyone please vote? Should say hold in abeyance, not advance. The motion is to hold in abeyance. So if everybody could please vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 11 yay, 0 nay, motion passes. Number 2, communication 2020-440. Angie Mulliken, Public Works Budget Analyst, requesting Council of Commissioners schedule a public hearing for November 4th, 2020 for the purpose of soliciting comments on unanticipated revenue for memorial bench to be placed in Clark's Park in view of the Lady of the Rockies. The memorial bench is to have a plaque affixed to it with the inscription of "In loving memory of John Swisher, storyteller, 66-20, forever in our hearts, the 12s." Commissioner Frederickson, I would assume that if the Parks and Rec Board took action on this, they'll be submitting a formal communication to this body, but I'll let you give us an update, Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. We'll see how this one goes. So we did meet on this, and Trevor Peterson, who is the Butte-Silver Bow arborist, kind of took this on and developed a template for going forward for people that want to submit a plaque or purchase a tree, and he really laid it out nicely. And the Parks Board approved his template. So I don't know if that needs, and he said he would be willing to come to council to give a presentation. And I thought it was really nice. So I didn't know if that's a communication that needs to come before council.
Commissioner Frederickson, I would probably advise that, being that you're going to have a new slate of commissioners coming before you next week. It would probably be good to update that.
Yeah, we didn't, we never had anything in place for this sort of thing. And so now he has, if you want a bench, you donate this amount of money, you get this type of bench. If you want to donate this amount of money to have a little placard next to a tree, this is what you pay. So he laid it out pretty nicely. So yeah, I can coordinate with him and we can get a presentation on that and I guess approve yes or no whether we want to do this. I just didn't know if the Parks Board approving it that it was good enough or not. Since everything goes, it sounds like the donations are going to go to Friends of, well, it used to be Friends of Stoughton Park. Now it's Friends of the Butte-Silver Bow Parks and Trails. So it would go to the nonprofit foundation rather than going into, the Parks Department's budget.
Okay.
Or the general fund.
Mr. Gallagher, the Parks and Rec Board would submit a formal letter with their recommendation, I would think. Isn't that correct?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I don't know my video turned back on. The Parks and Rec Board has the ability within the ordinance to make decisions on rules and things in the parks. I think this is it would be at least in the best interest if Trevor came forward and did a formal presentation of what he came up with. I don't know if it needs to have council approval. The way I read through it, it doesn't. We just need to we can create policy within the Parks Department, within the Parks and Rec Board on their approval to do this. We found it's going to be an easier process rather than trying to amend the budget and have a public hearing when people donate this way to have do it through our nonprofit with the Friends of Parks and Trails, so that when somebody wants to donate it, we make sure that we're being consistent across the board with any donations that come across. We put in consistent benches, trees, and have policies that don't hold the county liable to replace a tree if it dies after it's donated, and what kind of placards can be put out there so that we don't turn our parks into cemeteries, essentially.
Okay, on the question, Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. On that question, that's where I was going with, after JP mentioned our parks turn into a cemetery. Where do we draw the line on, how many benches, what kind of benches, the price? That's where would be my concern. I mean, that's a big issue to me. I'm not saying we stop that, but we can only have so many benches, and then with that being said, if something happens to them, who takes care of that?
Mr. Gallagher.
Thanks, Chairman Morgan and Commissioner O'Neill. That's essentially exactly what we're putting into place. We didn't have anything in that outlined that previous. We've gone and looked at other parks departments, how they do that. It's to prevent that from happening, from being able to put multiple different styles of benches or whatever in there. It's a great way to supplement and to not impact the general budget. We have people a lot of times that would like to put a tree in. We're always looking to put more trees and things into it, but we dictate what kind of sign, and that it's not, they don't become, like I said, graveyard placards, things like that. And we didn't have anything to prevent that in the past. It was just kind of, do we approve it? Do we not approve it? Now we actually have guidelines and policies of how that will go. And it does not hold Butte-Silver Bowl liable if that tree or bench is damaged. We don't have to replace it because they donated it to us. So that's all outlined within this policy.
Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, JP, for that. I think you're right about, and also Josh, memorials they have a place, and you have to be careful it doesn't get to be overwhelming or to overwhelm the budget too. But my question, I guess, is on this particular communication. How do we want to address this one? Do we just note and place it on file and let the Parks and Recs Board and your department, well, your previous department almost, take care of that? I just want to know how you'd like us to address this particular communication. Thanks.
Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan, Commissioner Shaw. That's exactly what we've actually went back and talked to the family that donated this. I think they are issuing another check to the Friends of Parks and Trails so that we don't have to do the amending of the budget in a public hearing. So I think that, we like for this to, just place on file because there will be no action taken with that. I don't think that there will be any public hearing that will need to be had because the money won't be donated into the general fund.
Thank you.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Chairman. I just also want to note that Angie who submitted this communication she's at the Parks and Board recording the meeting. So and she was totally fine with that. So with that, I'll make a motion that we note and place on file.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded to note communication 2020-440. Anything on the question? All right, would everyone please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 11 yay, 0 nay. Motion passes. Number 3, communication 2020-472, Carol Griffin, Philip Bartow, 818 Mountain Street, Butte, Montana. Requesting council commissioners permission to purchase tax parcel 1903000, a vacant city county owned property north of and adjacent to my property located at 818 Mountain Street, Butte, Montana. We'll continue to hold this in abeyance pending a report back from the land sales. Number 4, communication 2020-485, Jeff Riggs, Butte, Montana, requesting council commissioners authorization to purchase a city-owned parking lot located at 103 South Washington Street, southwest corner of West Galena Street in Washington. We'll continue to hold this in abeyance pending a report back from the land sales. Number 5, communication 2020-489, Carrie Coe, Program Director, the Root and the Bloom Collective, requesting council commissioners authorization to do a presentation on December 9th, 2020 to present our completion of phase 1 of the memorandum of understanding with Butte-Silver Bow on the renovation of the Jacobs House. We did have this presentation last week, so Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I move to place communication 2020-489 on file.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded for communication 2020-489. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Okay, would anyone like to change their vote? Can we please see the vote? Looks like we have 11 yay, 0 nay. Moving on to any public comment on any public matter not on tonight's agenda. I don't have any communications to read, and there doesn't appear to be anybody on the phone line as of yet, so we'll give that a second. All right, seeing none on the phone lines. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I want you guys all to know that I've been binge watching Jumanji the last couple days, and I'm convinced that after my adjournment of this meeting, I will go back in time to when I was 26 years old, when I had more hair and I wasn't as round as I am. And so I'll let you know how that works out here in a few minutes. So can I get a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Shaw.
I move to adjourn.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Just quickly, briefly, I'd like to just state that I'd like to thank Chief Executive Palmer for his years of service for Butte-Silver Bow and service to our community. I'd like to thank you, Chairman Morgan, for your service to the community. You know, both the Palmer family and your family have been longtime friends of our family, and I wish you the best in the future. Many of you might not know that Commissioner McDonough and he's the one that kind of got me set up to get on this commission 8 years ago, and it was over a beer, and
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Have a good night, everybody. But remember, we do have one more meeting after this.
Yeah, we have a special meeting. It's going to be quick.
So I'll adjourn the committee of the whole meeting for December 30th.
I guess I say this now. Good night, Captain Morgan.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. I'm going to anchor well.
Hopefully you can stay logged in for this special meeting.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Well, we'll jump right into it, and I'm going to call to order the special meeting for Wednesday, December 30th, and 2020. We have roll call, please.
Mr. Chief Executive, looks like we have 11 here, 0 absent.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Commissioner Hankins is excused.
Yep.
Okay, we'll dispense with the prayer because we already had it a little bit earlier. And we'll move right into the call for the special meeting. Chief Executive Dave Palmer has called a special meeting of the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners for December 30th, 2020, immediately following the Committee of the Whole meeting by a WebEx for the purpose of adjourning sine die. And every 2 years, the council has to end business for the previous 2 years, and that's what we're doing tonight. So Commissioner Morgan.
Mr. Chief Executive, I wanted to save my comments for the meeting that you were going to be running. I just want to thank you for your service to Butte-Silver and for being a mentor of mine over the last several years of me being a commissioner along your side. I know there's many times that I still referred to you as Commissioner Palmer, but out of full respect, I want to thank you for what you've done for Butte-Silver and along with everybody here, Butte is an even better place for everybody serving on these boards. So thank you, and I want to wish you and your family luck in the upcoming year. So thanks again for that.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate all of you and all your support that you've given me over the last 4 years and previously on my time on the council. It's been great working with each and every one of you, and I look forward to watching you on meetings and see how you do.
I'll be at your house, Dave, on Wednesday. At this time, Mr. Chief Executive, I'd make a motion that we adjourn sine die for the year of December 30th, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to adjourn sine die. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. It's not really on the question, but just an opportunity to thank yourself, Commissioner Olson, Commissioner McDonough, and Commissioner Morgan. 10 years ago, minus a few months when I was first elected, first person to congratulate me was you, Mr. Morgan. I saw you at the Civic Center getting the results. It's a treasured memory in my life. So thank you very much. You've always been very special. You helped me along tremendously throughout my 10 years here. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Palmer, you and Mike Cheeser helped me out enormously when I first got on board. So thank you for that. It's been great working with you the past 10 years. Brandon and Dan, hasn't been nearly as long, but it's been great being with you the past few years. Thank you very much. I wish you all of you, nothing but the best in your future endeavors. So thank you all very much. And have a wonderful, wonderful new year, all of you.
Okay. Nothing else? Oh, Commissioner Shea.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to also take the opportunity to thank everybody that's leaving at the end of the year. It has been just the pleasure of my life to be able to sit beside you all and be able to take part in public service, which has always been my dream. You've been great mentors, and you've, as John has said today, Butte is a better place because of all of you, and it's been the pleasure of my life to serve alongside of you. So thank you for all of your mentorship, all of your advice, and thank you so much. Best wishes.
Thank you. I'm sure retirement's going to be enjoyable. So we look forward to it. So
And if I
anything
could
else on the
interject one
question?
more thing,
Who is that, Aunt Bill?
please.
Commissioner Adams.
John, you may not have the shortest meeting on record. That still belongs to Cindy, but I can guarantee and I pray that you have the shortest meeting during a pandemic.
That's right. And Commissioner Fisher proved that you just never know what's going to happen at a council meeting.
That's right. Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk please record the vote?
1 second. We have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Commissioner Morgan.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year,
Have a
everybody.
great new year.
Good night, everybody.
It's been great working with everyone. Keep up the good
Happy New
work.
Year, you guys.
Happy New Year.
Next year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Good night, John Boy. I had to do it one more time.